When I was 8 years old, my parents would bring me to Blockbuster and Toys R Us, where I discovered demo machines. They had a Super Nintendo behind glass, where you could just kind of walk up, grab the controller, and start playing. It blew my 8-year-old mind. I would get so into these things, they were like nothing I'd ever seen. I'd be shaking the controller around, like jerking it up and down because I thought it would somehow make my character jump higher. Mom, I know what I want for my birthday. I don't know, Oren. I think maybe there's better things you could be doing with your time than just sitting in front of a video game all day. Do you have similar concerns? Are you worried that your kids are just not paying attention to more important pursuits like school because they're just sitting in front of video games all the time? I actually agree. I think there's a problem. The problem is that games have figured out how to engage children, and schools haven't. Eventually, my mom gave in. She did get me a Super Nintendo, and I launched my career as a game designer. One of the things I've learned is that understanding systems and understanding and learning the nuances of games is actually one of the main things that we find fun about them. Brain scans and different kinds of tests actually show this. Learning is inherently fun to us, and schools should be too. Here are 3 ways we could gamify education. The first way is fairly straightforward. It doesn't even require changing anything about the current system. Right now, you walk into school and you think, I'm going to get an A+. And then every wrong answer you get on your test, you get a little red circle around it and you lose points. We're essentially grading negatively. What I propose is instead you walk in with 0 points, and then every time you do something right, you get some points. And throughout the semester, you just keep doing better and better. You just reward people for learning rather than punishing them. And the second way is a little harder than that. It's a little more in-depth, but it's also critically important. The way that we're grading right now is basically we're building curriculum around ease of grading rather than engaging material. When I was in university, I studied psychology, and for the first exam, I just tried to learn all the material, I did all the reading, I just really tried to engage with it and understand everything. And I got a 60, and I wasn't all that happy with that. So the second time what I did is I didn't even read any of it. I just looked at the glossary at the back and memorized all the terms, and I got a 90. There's something wrong about that to me. If you were trying to teach someone about baseball and get them really interested in it, would you just give them a sports almanac and say, memorize all these players and these stats? We have the internet for that. We don't need to do that. We need to get people interested in Shakespeare, not just show them a bunch of quotes from Shakespeare and make them memorize Shakespeare and hate Shakespeare. The third thing we need to do is we need to encourage our kids to fail. Let me expand on that a little bit. Right now, we're very focused on success. We want to make sure that kids don't fail, they do the best that they possibly can. And we even have all these systems set up like the No Child Left Behind, where we're trying to make sure that everyone makes it through the system without any failure. But the problem is, the world's full of failure. Failure is very important. You need failure to have innovation and creativity. And actually, one of the main things that we like about video games is that they're very low stakes. You can fail all the time. You fall off the cliff as Super Mario, and then you just go back in and try again. And you just keep trying, and keep trying, and keep failing until you become awesome. That's how the classroom needs to work. These aren't quite as radical as something that school teacher Nath Pai did a couple of years ago. He actually took all of his elementary curriculum for math and language and replaced all of it just with games that focused on these. He didn't even give out homework. He just said, play these games, and after a term, you know what happened? The class average went up 21%. Now, one of the things that he did is he actually grouped his kids into different styles of learning. He figured out what was working for them, and he figured out how to teach to them specifically. When the school system, the education system as it is, was originally invented during the Industrial Revolution, and it was invented to fill a need. It needed to churn out interchangeable parts that could work in specific circumstances and jobs. But the world isn't like that anymore. We don't need interchangeable parts. We need people who are creative and innovative, and we need a school system and an education system that can foster those kinds of people. You're all unique. Some of you might be more unique than others. I designed board games, and I did an undergraduate thesis on game design, so I'm definitely kind of a weirdo. But to be fair to my mother, I think I still would have turned out fine even if she hadn't let me play video games. For too long, we've been teaching kids that learning is not fun. That's not true. Learning is inherently fun, and school should be too. Mr. Toastmaster.